Welcome. On this channel, we're going to do things quite a bit differently than a lot of the noise out there. And we're going to be talking about the soul, mankind, ancient megalithic sites, the 7 root races, and the 4 epochs of Saturn, Sun, Moon, and our current epoch, Earth. Let's engage. And I want you to consider this. When you're sitting in a park, do trees just pop up out of nowhere? Do birds, squirrels, joggers, a pond, do they just pop up out of nowhere while you're sitting there? If that was truly the case, that would still be happening today. The point of this is everything in our 3D materiality matrix has a beginning. It has an essence, and that essence is in the cosmos from a spiritual source. Spirit has descended into matter, and it is in matter is which we are functioning in today. So, in order to move forward into Noah the Atlantean, we must firmly establish this foundation. And there's a lot of YouTubers and podcasters out there that neglect this point. Take, for example, a friend of yours recommended that you buy and read a book. So you get the book, bring it home, and begin reading it. You begin in chapter 3 or chapter 8? Of course not. You need to begin with the first word in chapter 1. If you begin reading the book in chapter 5 or 8, and your friend later asks you about the book, kind of quizzes you on it, you'll have no answers. You might have answers later on from where you began reading, but that which came prior, you have no idea. Let's engage deeper. Now, we all have minerals in our body, correct? But how do those minerals get in the body? Did the body form first and then as an afterthought, oh, we need to pack it full of minerals? No. The minerals came first. Now ask your question, where did the warmth come from in your body? Again, that has a spiritual beginning, and that warmth began on ancient Saturn. The ancients called this Saturn the first sun, or the original sun. So, referring back to Rudolf Steiner, who passed away in 1925, he explained that there were 4 great epochs, beginning with ancient Saturn, then to ancient Sun, then to ancient Moon, and then to our current earth. These were all epochs that unfolded. In the ancient Hindu creation story, it mirrors Christian Genesis, and all these ancient cultures around the world were telling the same exact story, but they used metaphors and such which were dependent or in their locality. So they're all telling the same story, but just from their own local culture. So the 6 days of creation are not literally Earth 24-hour days of time. Each day is a vast expanse of time. Ancient Hindus referred to manvantaras and pralayas. A manvantara, 6 manvantaras mirror Genesis, 6 days of creation. The day of rest is what ancient Hindus called a pralaya. Now, if we go to ancient Egypt, it's the same story. There's the creator god Ptah, P-T-A-H. He's lying on his back still in what's called the Sea of Chaos. This Sea of Chaos symbolizes undifferentiated matter. It means this matter has potential, but it has not been organized. Now, when Ptah moves, movement equals action. Action equals creation. So when Ptah moves, the cycle of creation begins. This is the same as the ancient Hindu Manvantara, a period of creation. So there's 6 periods of creation. Now, this undifferentiated matter, it's put into what's called a womb, a cosmic womb. Remember, it's virgin material. It has potential, but it has not been vivified yet. So this undifferentiated matter is placed in a womb, and that's virgin matter that has potential, but will then be vivified so that the creation process will begin. That's the original story of the virgin, the womb, the cosmic virgin with the cosmic womb. This is the original story. However, of course, it's been translated into our micro realm with the stories of Mother Mary, Isis, and others. They're all telling you the same story of creation. Now, what has happened with these stories in regards to Christianity, for example, beginning in the 1300s, over there across the pond, mankind lost the esoteric, occult understanding of the creation story, and they began interpreting it literally. And this is where the big confusion started. Like, for example, in the esoteric understanding of Noah going around the world and collecting two of each animals. That's the literal interpretation that has been being taught from pulpits for a long, long, long time. And actually, that's incorrect. You know, it's the same as how they say that Noah built a boat and the flood came and people perished and and it rained for 40 days and 40 nights. You know, those all have an esoteric meaning. And we're going to get into those in a few moments. There is a book that was published by Harriet T. Bartlett in 1917. And this book is a gem because she interpreted the esoteric meaning instead of the gobbledygook literalism that most people understand today. But I don't want to get ahead of myself because we started out with the original creation story. So if I now leapfrog to Noah and the ark, I'm going to be leaving some things out. But just bear with me. We will get to that. We will also get to Noah the Atlantean, and that involves root race number 4, the Atlantean root race, and our current root race number 5. But just bear with me. I don't want to jump from the beginning onto chapter 5. Now, what is an ark? An ark is a place of sanctuary, a place of safety during chaos, during societal breakdown. At the time of Noah the Atlantean on Atlantis, there was society breakdown. It was a separation between those that were abusing their technological know-how against mankind for selfish reasons. And on the other side of the aisle, you had people like Noah and those that behaved in righteous ways. Noah literally means to walk with God, to harmonize with God. So Noah built his ark, the place of peace, a sanctuary during the societal chaos. Now, what was the societal chaos at that time? Well, like I said, there were people misusing and abusing their scientific technologies for selfish purposes against the rest of mankind. And you need to understand that the Atlanteans were a global empire. And those like Noah began not only segregating themselves, they began migrating off of Atlantis. And they went in different directions. They went westward into southeast USA, and tribes like the Cherokees, they still have ancient folk tales on who their ancestors were. Ancient Atlanteans moved into the Caribbean, into Mexico, Central and South America. They headed eastward into the Near East, and that helps explains the know-how of the Sumerians, because the Sumerians were a bridge to the ancient Atlanteans. It's a watered down bridge, but still, nonetheless, they still had a lot of know-how on how their predecessors on Atlantean did things. And the Egyptians, of course, there's just a tremendous amount of documentation. It's not just Plato, but in other sources too, about the ancient Egyptians, how they got their know-how and knowledge and wisdom from the Atlanteans that came into the area. And this helps explain the Druids that still retained a lot of those what we would call magical powers. They were direct descendants of the Atlanteans, as were the ancient Hebrews, the ancient Iranians, the ancient people of India, Tibet. So that's what happened on Atlantis. And the people that were misusing and abusing their powers, you have to remember that at that time, mankind still possessed those psychic abilities such as telepathy, clairaudio, clairvoyance. But as we have fallen through time, we no longer have those abilities. That doesn't mean they're lost forever. They're just lying in dormancy for now, but they will return. So these dark magi, these dark magicians, these evil ones, they not only had more psychic abilities, but the earth at that time had different laws of physics. So the energy on earth was more readily available. Like, for example, the ley lines and such, the energy grids. They used their psychic abilities in tandem with the laws of physics on earth at that time. So there's really no mystery of how these stones were cut, carved, lifted into place. It's because the physics were different and mankind was a different animal at that time. Now I'm going to leave Noah the Atlantean right there, and we're going to continue that on my next video. But like I've said, you need to have a firm foundation. We got to start in the beginning and not jump to chapters 3 and 5. So we'll continue that portion in my next video. However, I want to backtrack to Manvantaras and Pralayas. Remember, there's the 6 Manvantaras, days of creation, and then there's the Pralaya, which is in Christianity the so-called day of rest. Now, when these 6 periods of creation are over, because we're still creating, we're still in this creation cycle, this creation period. Now, when all this creation, all this activity in the universe on down to us, when it's over, that's when the Pralaya begins. And what does the Pralaya do? Everything that was created, everything of matter, gets reabsorbed into spirit. It gets reabsorbed. It's recycled. So that is the rest. It gets drawn into spirit, and then there's a repose time. Everything is still. Just like going back to Ptah, lying still in the sea of chaos. The beginning, when he stirred was the beginning of creation. When he's lying still in the sea of chaos, that's the pralaya. And then what happens? The creation cycle starts all over again. But we're a long ways off from that pralaya. And actually that pralaya, being the seventh day, is what's known as the Sabbath, the period of rest, where everything has been reabsorbed back into spirit. And it is the spirit, like I've already said, which is our original essence. We've just dropped down into matter, and we have no memory of what the hell happened. So what I'm telling you, and what I also have in my book, is that we need to recall memory. Nothing is new out there. We just have to recall memory. Now I'm going to wind down this part 1 video. I'm going to wind it down. But I hope that you not only consumed this information, I hope that you digested it. Because I've given you a pretty good foundation, the creation in the beginning. And from here, we're going to continue on more into the root races. And from the 7 root races, we're going to engage more. Thank you for listening. I want to put something out there right now. I'm sure you've heard, as in the days of Noah. Well, what was going on in the days of Noah? Like I said, misuse and abuse from the global elite of that time for their own selfish purposes and agendas against mankind. Because remember, the Atlanteans were a global empire. So this, as in the days of Noah, it is in connection to the shift. Yes, there was a shift that took place in the days of Noah. Because remember, the more evolved souls were transitioning from root race number 4, the Atlanteans, into root race number 5, our current root race. But root races don't last forever. So likewise, as we transition out of our current root race number 5 into 6, another shift is taking place, as in the days of Noah. And you'd really have to be living under a huge boulder to not see what's unfolding, especially in the Western Empire, and in particularly the United States of America. It's collapsing. Society is breaking down. All the institutions that we have relied on for decades they're falling apart. They no longer function. This is part of the transitioning, which many people call the shift. Like I've explained, in the days of Noah, there were more advanced souls, those that walked with God in righteousness and that did not lose their connection to the creator of all. Now the dark magicians, they had no respect for humanity, for God, or any of that. So what happened, the submerging of Atlantis symbolizes a cleansing. So to perish at that time were those that did not walk or harmonize with God. This is extremely important to grasp because of our current situation, which is mirroring exactly what happened in the days of Noah. It's a repeat. Look at the GMOs. Look at all the scientific technologies that's being misused and abused against humanity. And it's not just scientific technologies, it's abuse through wars and conquest, outdated colonialism. That's what it is. Everything through the centuries that has gotten these global elites and these royal bloodlines to the point where they are, their useful function has expired. Now, empires and root races kind of mirror each other. An empire will begin, it will reach its moment of apex, and then the empire begins to crumble within due to greed and all of that mess. Root races are the same. A root race will reach its zenith point and then will begin to crumble, just like the Atlanteans began to crumble. And then what came out of that was our current root race. But only those with the more elevated, evolved consciousness, the more elevated, evolved soul, provided the seed to seed the incoming root race. Now, this isn't necessarily flesh and blood, obviously, because we're talking long periods of time. We're talking about the lineage of the soul. So if you elevate your soul sufficiently, you can seed the incoming sixth root race. The lesser evolved souls, the lesser evolved consciousnesses out there, their time will come in the future, in the far future. They're not lost. It's just that they're going to be held back, just like a student that doesn't finish first grade is held back before they can transition into second grade. What's happening in the Western Empire, in particular the United States, it's cycles, and these points of transition between root races. The signs are global cataclysms, earthquakes, probably the ring of fire wakening up, tidal waves, all kinds of earth crust displacement. Like I said, it's a cleansing, and that means a cleansing of everything. Continents have always risen and fallen through cycles. It's nothing new. It's been going on Earth for millions of years. So my point is, Build your ark. Build your place of safety, your sanctuary. Because what happened on Atlantis is happening again.